Welcome to Patrons Questions, episode 23. Today I'm going to be talking about, very briefly, about guitar finishing oil to answer a question, and I'm going to be talking about template materials. The whys, the wherefores, the who's its and what's its. I'm going to go all Dr. Seuss here, and I feel like I should just not. So, hi. Okay, so yeah, let's start with a quick and easy one. This is from Schumacher Guitar Works. He says, "Hey Ben, question about the T-type you built for Triton, the Triton videos. What did you guys think of that? I think they announced the competition winner a little bit too soon, but I did enjoy the build. It was weird having somebody else filming it, but yeah. Anyway, I'm very happy. I'm mostly happy with the guitar. Played around with the neck a little bit too much, I think, but anyway, let me know what you think about the series if you've watched it." Yeah, he says, Schumacher Guitar Works says, "You used a new, thicker, higher build finishing oil. Is that going to be available to us? Question mark, question mark. I'd love to get some for an upcoming build." Yes, it is available soon. It will be available soon. We've had a 5-litre tin of the stuff downstairs waiting for labels and logos and stickers and all of that jazz. We're in the process of having to, can you believe it, put barcodes on some of our things, including the oils. So there's been a whole massive redesign, much better quality stickers on the tins of the stains and the oils, etc. And the guitar oil 2, or the high build guitar oil, is coming soon. It is fantastic stuff. I really, it's quicker. It is quicker. I think a combination of the two is probably still worthwhile. The reason why I designed the standard guitar finishing oil the way I did was that it was penetrating. I find that true oil sits on the top and creates a film sort of varnish finish, but it doesn't look transparent enough on figured woods, etc. And it just felt like a finished layer rather than what I would like, which is a finish that goes into the wood and then slowly builds up. So I would use the standard guitar finishing oil, penetrate the wood as it is designed to do, and then after 1 or 2 coats of the standard oil, move on to the high build finish and build up the layers that way. It's the best of both worlds. I wish I could get it in one tin, which is, I suppose, what True Oil have tried to do. But anyway, okay. Now to the meat of the. Trying to find an M word. To the meat of the question. This is from A1 Bass. He says, "We should have a chat about template material. I've used plywood in the past, but find that, like any wood, it's prone to warping over time, which means you'll need to keep remaking them. Also, you occasionally get voids in the laminate that need to be filled and sanded back to avoid little dips in your work when you're using a flush trimmer out of it. MDF is nice and stable, but it is a horror to work with." Emphatically. "I also find it to be slightly too soft for a template that's going to see a lot of use, unless you use something like shellac or lacquer as a finish on it. Transparent plastic is probably the best solution, but I've not tried that yet. Anyone have any other ideas?" First of all, there is the problem of over-engineering something, depending on what you're doing. Now, most of you, and in fact me here, if I make a custom template, I'm only likely to use it once or twice. I am not in my studio up here in the business of producing multiples of anything. I get bored far too easily. I want to do a one-off. I might do the same guitar a couple of times. But if it's more than that, it's downstairs and it's a production thing, and they will have the CNC machines make templates if I require them, or anything like that. So So if you have MDF, for example, I've used MDF a lot. Most of our templates are MDF, and they're fine. They are fine. It is. I've not had enough coffee today, and it's far too warm in this room with all the doors shut. Yeah. MDF sucks. MDF dust sucks. It is wood dust glued together with nasty glue that is carcinogenic and horrible, and avoid it if you possibly can, okay? But then again, avoid normal wood dust as much as you possibly can, if at all possible as a guitar builder. Now, if you are building a template that's going to be used once or maybe twice, or even 4 or 5 times, to be honest, MDF will be fine. The amount that it compresses as you use it is negligible. Using a bearing cutter, for one, you're not supposed to be pushing hard enough against the template. Let me start again. Every single time I've messed up and moved a template and been using a template hard enough to push the template off my work, and I haven't done that in many years. I haven't had that happen to me since before I started using the masking tape and super glue trick. But every time it did happen, it was because I was pushing too hard. When I'm using templates, I will either cut to as close to the line as humanly possible on the bandsaw if it's an external shape, or I will use Forstner bits and a pillar drill to remove as much waste as humanly possible before using the router. And then even then, I will slowly work the router up to the edge. I don't want to put pressure onto the template because I'm worried about the template moving and then me blowing through the side of this guitar that I'm working on. That would just suck big time. So bearing in mind that's how I work, an MDF template is going to last even longer, even if you don't treat the edges. Now, if you are planning on using MDF, which I would actually advise against, what A1 Base suggested, which was sealing the edges with, I'm not entirely sure what he said. Hold on, let me read the thing again. Shellac or lacquer. Shellac, lacquer, sounds like the beginning of a song. I have used dilute wood glue before to great success, and that's it. You make the template. So you make your first template by hand with rasps and files and things. You then use that one to make the master template on a router. Adjust any high or low spots, make sure that's nice and square, and then seal that with shellac or lacquer, or, as I've used in the past, a dilute solution of just normal wood glue. And it will last you for a long time. And this is MDF, it's relatively cheap. As long as you've got good dust extraction, you'll be fine. Now, if you're going to use it a lot, make your master template, save that as a master template, and only ever use that to make copies of the master template. And by the time you've had to make 10 templates, maybe you'll see some deterioration of the master template. And that, when I first started thinking I was going into semi-mass production, that is what I did. I had a master template, I had slaves that copied from there, and I had a batch of 20 instruments that I made, and some of them have now been chopped up and are on the wall in the studio over there. But anyway, so MDF, there we go. It's cool. It's nasty, it's carcinogenic. Use dust extraction if you can. Seal it if you're going to use it more than once or twice. Don't bother if you're not going to. That is the basic material. Plywood. there's plywood and there's plywood, and then there's plywood. And it sounds to me like the plywood that A1 Base has had has been of the lower quality that you sometimes get, and that is the stuff that does have voids in it. It is relatively inexpensive, and as a result of that, it is made rapidly and cheaply, probably in China, and that stuff I would not make a template from ever. Just don't touch it. The ply that you saw me make, actually, this template with, it's still got the masking tape on. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For some reason, a 7 ply seems weird to me, but anyway, this is furniture grade plywood, Baltic birch, engineering ply. It is expensive stuff, relatively speaking. I think an 8x4 sheet is about 35 or 40 pounds. There are no voids in this. There is no movement in this. It is heavily engineered, really good quality stuff, and I think it's available just as birch ply. But as is the case with many things, if you're going to buy something, look at the price, okay? Unless you've got an utter bastard of a shopkeeper, the pricing structure will tell you what you should go for. Saving £5 on a template or on template material is going to bite you in the long run. Now, so yeah, I mean that's why if I'm going to make something, I prefer to use this really good ply if at all possible. It works well. It is still glued together. It is still carcinogenic. It is still wood, and you've still got to wear dust extraction. I can just imagine me in a Ghostbusters get-up with a full dust extraction kit, and the things and the stuff, and a Bane. That sounds far too fun. Anyway, so that's it. The plywood, good quality ply is where you need to go, quite frankly. And it lasts a lot longer. It is much harder than MDF, much more durable, and it's good. And you can still do the same thing. You can still seal the edges prior to use to make it even harder still. That adds an extra step to the template making, and I'm not too much of a fan of making templates, but it might well be worth it. And then we move on to the final evolutionary stage of this Pokemon, and that is acrylic or perspex, or is Lexan another word for the stuff? It is difficult to make your own templates using perspex. It's a different material. It's an engineering plastic, and while it will machine, hell, I've got a perspex base there that I created, and it did route and it did drill, and I could carve it using the carving techniques I did, and I could cut it. I cut the shape out because it was too big for my bandsaw with a jigsaw, and I had to go around the shape 3 or 4 times because it kept on melting and fusing back together. That was infuriating. So the process of making a template out of perspex is problematic, but the final result is another, say, and I'm pulling this, I'm just putting this out of thin air, say it's 20% more durable, 20% more stable than plywood. It's harder, it will last you pretty much forever. Unless you slip with a router cutter, and then it would be sad. Now, if you have access to a laser cutter, use that. Okay. The other thing is that most people will end up with a 6mm Perspex sheet, and I would suggest that 8mm or 10mm is much more desirable. I have made templates for fretboards, for example, out of 10mm stock, and at one point I was making pickup templates out of thick 10mm blanks, and I ordered 10mm blanks that big, and I got 20 of them from a company, and then I made my own templates, and they lasted forever. I mean, we still have some of them floating around downstairs at the moment. The problem is 10mm thick Perspex is actually, it's prohibitively expensive, really, for what it is, and for the fact that, I'm going to go back to where I started this video, for the fact that you are probably only going to use your template once or twice. So, yeah, it's entirely up to you. There are some other materials that are perfectly serviceable. In fact, some cheaper materials. The nice thing about Perspex is you can scribe your center line on the bottom and still see where it is. You can see everything going through, and that's cool. There are other non-transparent, let's just use the word opaque, engineering plastics that do work as well, that are heat resistant, that machine better than Perspex or acrylic. I can't remember the name of these things, but Google engineering plastics. And some of them are relatively inexpensive. They've bought some downstairs to go on for the CNC machines. And those are a valid option as well. And in this day and age, you can get anything on the internet. So, I don't think I've missed anything here. If you have another material that you use, another method that you use for making a template, this question is based on the making of this template in the 90-hour build. But if you have another method of making it that doesn't involve files or bandsaws or oscillating spindle sanders, then that's where my brush went. I've just found my brush. I've been looking for that all day. It's on the spindle sander. You don't care, do you? Please let me know in the comments below. And I just clapped right in your ear, and I apologize for that too. Have a fantastic day. I will be back soon with more videos. Go make some dust. Preferably not MDF dust. You'll notice we stopped stocking. We used to sell a not insignificant amount of templates, actually. Strats and Les Pauls and all that just jazz. We made at Crimson and we sold quite a lot, and they were being made every day and bringing in, you know, maybe not as much profit as they should have, but profit. I stopped them because the dust was so nasty. Run away from MDF if you have the choice. Coffee time.